Well, that was a most warm welcome and most well-deserved. I want to convey a very special welcome to our distinguished guest, Mr. Ray Charles, on behalf of the faculty, students, and staff of the Center for Afro-American Studies. I'm both pleased and honored to be a part of today's ceremony, which honors your contributions to the arts, and delighted that you were able to accept our invitation to speak and to visit the UCLA campus. Before presenting the award, I would like to make a few very brief remarks about the spirit in which this award was conceived. For those of us whose roots lie in the Afro-American community, it is difficult to think of our culture without recognizing the significant and constructive force of art in our day-to-day lives. From our 16th century beginnings in the New World up to the present, the arts have been focal to Afro-American culture, and prominent among these arts have, of course, been music and song. During that period of Afro-American history, when work was slavery, blacks expressed their distinctive culture primarily through the medium of music. Through music, we recorded our history, commented about our lives, expressed our pain, and in presenting this award to you today, we recognize your seminal contributions to you for the tradition of synthesis which your music represents, differences which too often divide and separate mankind. We are musical heritage, but for the ways in which you, through your art, have been pleased to present this award to you, Mr. Ray Charles. I'll read the award. It says, the unit presents the Distinguished Humanitarian Award to Ray Charles, contributions to the Afro-American musical heritage and to the music of the modern world.
What? Oh, we have to turn it around, do we? Oh. That and I know you might think I'm trying to lead you wrong. I am truly overwhelmed by this. It impressed, and I want you to know I feel this, and I guess to say thank you, obviously for me is not adequate, but it's the only thing I know to. Thank you. Bob, it's for me, okay.
Your side of the ballroom, if you'd like to ask a question.
Question for you, but you probably don't remember me, but I used to work for
the 5-4 Ballroom very well.
54th and Broadway, see?
All right.
Mr. Charles, have you noticed it's more well received today than when you were first starting out in your career?
Well, I mean, that's the way it should have been, because in the beginning, you know that you're not going to be president of the company when you're just starting out. Today, you know, a lot of problems and from coming at us from all different angles, enough to climb the ladder, I can't think of any other way to put it. But I am grateful though that I was one night and then I made a record, and then all of a sudden I was making, say, $50,000. What made it good for me is that climbing slowly, I was able to kinds of things that had to do with my music and that could help me.
Most challenging, or perhaps most satisfying, fulfilling thing about continuing to create music
is to try to play a passage and don't make a mistake. You know, if you're going to be good, You and I don't want to lecture to you, but I have to tell you, it's a challenge. I mean, because you know, every day that you wake up is a little different from the day. You see, it's going to stay the same every day, but you are different. So that means with my voice, I have to make sure that I can find a way, even when I'm a little hoarse. I have to find ways. And how do you do that? What it takes to make you do what you do. A key for me, or the challenge for me, is at least be as good as I was yesterday, and hopefully, if I practice just a...
Mr. Charles, I just want to thank you for being with me from when I can't stop loving you and shedding many tears over a broken love. Helped a lot to get me through. And so many songs that you've done over the years have brought peace and contentment or helped me get through a lot of things. I really feel the spirit of people, and you affect so many people on so many levels with your music. And I
Bless you, darling. I appreciate it. I do. Yeah.
Brother Ray?
Yes, sir.
You got a magic voice, and showing your voice off to all your fans.
Say that again now.
Traveling around from club to club, is it just a solo piano player, right?
No. Saying that in the beginning was I playing piano instead of singing? But let me put it this way. I have done in my career a time when I worked in a band where I didn't sing because they had a singer, so I played where I was just the singer. I've been in bands where I just play. Even when I was in bands just playing the piano, I have always had where I would sing. I would do something on the show. I don't think I could live with that. Now, I don't know why I feel that way, but I just think I must sing. You got to let.
Mr. Charles, I'm sure this award is just one of many, to accomplish personally.
Any goals? I'm not ducking your question. It's just that I never thought about that. No, I don't have. I guess if I have a goal, I just and to continue to be good. I really, this is vital to me. If you're saying, hey, but that ain't, I mean, do you want to get another Grammy, or do you want to go there? Do you want to? I don't have nothing like that, nothing. But I do, believe me, that's a true desire of mine, and I work at it of my life in what I do, and it does require intense concentration, working at it, and practice, and all this things that go along with win or this, or like to do or that. No, if I can stay healthy until I die, that's my goal.
Thank you. Your music mixes real sweet loving and real fine musical quality. I wonder if it was a diversion.
I think that it kind of balances our show out. The ladies can look at me, look at the girls. You know what I mean? And it creates a good a situation where male and female on the stage, and of course the sound, as you know, but with having females, you get a different sound, but you also get, but it's true, it does, people like to showmanship. Now, since I don't have snakes wrapped around me, or I don't jump off or dancing on the piano, I don't have a visual act, if you know what I mean. So therefore, I'll sing the male part. I'll let the girls sing the female part. Okay?
History of country music. And reading this one book, there's a chapter on Charlie involved in country music before him, and they mention you as playing in country bands before you took a direction of your own. I guess country music, I think for me the charm of your music has been some of its country flavor, becoming so darn urbanized these days that to me do you think you could have been a country musician? And do you think that maybe some of the musical categories that we get in today, especially as far as the color line goes, maybe...
Well, I tell you, see, I think many times what happens as we in our analogies get hung up, you know, we some kind of definition for this, and that becomes names that people give to music. But let's try some basics with you and say this to you. I feel that a lot of the music, especially black music in particular, is losing some of its real hardcore roots. And what I mean by that, I'm not saying that the music has got to be played today as it was played in 1930, so don't misunderstand me. What I'm saying is that I think that the youngsters need to be exposed to the original stuff more than they are. That's what now, and which will give you, just like anything else, it'll give you, you know, you find out where your, I don't want to overuse this word, roots sort of come from. You know, the music thing, and if you can be exposed to this, number one, and we don't have nearly enough of that, number one. But as far as country music, would I have been a country performer or not? Well, see, let me say this to you. First of all, I don't think that I'm a specialist in anything. Well, what I mean is I'm not, you know how you say, well, okay, now you go to this guy, I mean, he's a brain surgeon. I mean, he's a specialist. This guy over here, man, you go to him and he's strictly a foot doctor. You go to this guy over here, well, you have the same thing in music. You say, well, okay, this guy, he's a blues singer. This fella, he's a jazz singer. This guy, he's a country singer. Well, I have to tell you, my own gut feeling is that I'm none of these things. I am a good utility man. I'm a person who sings country songs. I'm a singer who sings jazz music. I'm a singer who sings the blues, but I am not a blues singer or a jazz singer or in other words, that's not my specialty. I think if you wanted to call me something, I'm more of a utility cat. You know, I can play first base, second base, shortstop, and third catch, and I can pitch a little bit if you ask me to. I'm sort of like that. That's my thing.
Thank you.
I'm wondering, Ray, which musicians that are performing today do you like?
That perform today that I like?
Yeah, that are still around.
Oh, well, let's see. Now, if we can start off with a few. I like Stevie Wonder, of course. Yeah, I like Aretha Franklin. I like, if you want to go in another direction, I like B.B. King. I like Dizzy Gillespie. I like Milt Jackson. I like Sarah Vaughan. I like Ella Fitzgerald. I like Barbra Streisand. In other words, there's no getting away from it, man. I like different people depending on what they're doing. You know what I mean? On the other hand, if you want, I can pull you out some stuff I like of composers. I like Beethoven. I like Sibelius. I mean, yeah. I'm not. I won't say I'm a great lover of Bach, but I certainly appreciate what it taught me when I was trying to study music. So with me, I'm a person that like whatever fits the groove I'm in. You know, if I want to hear some country music, then I'll pull me out some Charlie Pride or George Jones or Willie Nelson or Merle Haggard. I mean, these are people that I like, or Johnny Cash. It depends on, in other words, what I'm saying to you, the people that I like today are people that can give me what I want according to the mood I'm in.
Are there any rock and rollers that you like, Ray?
I'm sorry, excuse
Are
me.
there any rock and roll stars that you like? I mean,
Well, what is a rock and roll star? Now, the only reason I put it to you that way is because, somebody said to me the other day, and I'm really serious about this, and I was caught off guard. I was talking with a lady, newspaper gal from London, and she said to me, well, what do you think about punk rock? And the woman was deadly serious, and I said, well, I don't even know what it is, and I can't, which is not to put anything down. You have to understand me. If I don't know what it means, because you got so many names now. I've heard acid rock, punk rock, you got this music, rock and roll, you got soul music. Now they say they got the funk. Well, what is this? I don't know. I tell you what you do, if you want, give me some names, and if I can relate to them, I can tell you what I think. But I truly don't know. Rock and roll has different meanings to different people. You see, that's the problem. Where, at least with the blues, you can't mistake that. I mean, that's deadly serious. You can't sing you some blues, man. He's honest. So I know you figure, well, you said all that, Ray, and you didn't answer my question at all, and you're right. But I just don't know about this rock and roll of today. In other words, who do you consider rock and roll? And then maybe I can tell you what I think.
well, how about the Rolling Stones or the Beatles, for instance?
Well, the Beatles you can't really speak about because they're not around. The Stones are still around, and they have a tremendous following, as you well know. I don't need to tell you that. They seem to sell out whenever the word gets out. They're sold out before they get where they're going. So you can't knock that. But if you're asking me how am I personally into the Stones, I respect what they do as artists, but I'm not a Stones fan only because I can't, I cannot be a Helen Keller. What I mean by that is I know that if I lose my hearing, I won't be able to make it. So the Stones music is a little too loud for me, you see, and I can't, I don't. I went to see the Stones one time, and they had, as a good friend of mine who was in my band, Billy Preston, who was working with me, and I went to catch them, and to make a long story short, I was going to go out of the club to the outside, and when I left to get outside, I discovered I couldn't hear. Scared me. I mean, I'm serious. I've never been so frightened in all my life. So now I know what people mean, when they say you come out of a dark place and the light hits you, and for a moment you're blind, you can't see. Well, for a moment I was deaf. Well, now you imagine being deaf and blind at the same time. So I gave up the Stones after that. I said, no,
Is it my turn? Mr. Charles, you may have just answered my question. You know that you heavily influenced rock and roll, the rock and roll movement in the late 50s and early 60s. What do you think of the fact that now rock and roll and R&B soul music are so separate, it's almost segregation? Do you think something can be done to bring them together more?
Well, I don't know about. I always think that what's hip with music is that if you want to get music together, if you want people to enjoy music, I think the Americans are going to have to sooner or later start to doing or start to adapting at least part of the same type of programming, I guess is the word I want, that say the Europeans have. You see, what's wrong, I think, is that we don't expose our people to all the different forms. For instance, you can go to France, or you go to Italy, or to England, or wherever it is, and you turn on a radio station, and you will hear different types and kinds of music on that one station, which means that, it helps you get a chance to at least know, and most of these people can tell you what the number one song is in America, the number one song is, but we don't know what the number one song is right now, say in France, or the number one song is. And so to answer your question, how can we fuse the music together, what I've been seeing happening, which I really like, we've been doing a lot of concerts around the country with, like to say, the Boston Symphony, the Atlanta Symphony, the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, different symphony orchestras around the country. Now, I think that's marvelous, because you know what that does? That gets a lot of long-haired cats, man, who don't know. I mean, they don't want to hear nothing about what I'm doing. But yet, once they come in to see that music, if you play good music, good is good. I don't care where it comes from you at. If it's good, it's good. And so the way you do that is you expose the people to music that is together. So when you come out, let's say you go out and you're going to hear the Los Angeles Symphony, but along in that symphony, Ray Charles is going to be there too, so that he might play something with the symphony, and shock you. Okay, so I sit down and I play a little Moonlight Sonata, and then you say, what? Oh, you mean, no, man, no way. And I play the whole thing from start to finish. Then I sit down after I do that, and then I sing you some, yeah, I got a woman. And you say, well, wait a minute, there's something wrong here, right? But it does it does give the people, the long-haired people, a chance to hear music from the other side, and yet it gives people from the other side who might not never hear any symphony music a chance to go and look and listen and hear good music. And if you like music, you will appreciate other music other than the music that you've been listening to, but you got to be exposed to it. And that's what I think we should do. We should start putting more music that is totally separate. Put it together so people at least can hear it. They don't know whether they like it or not until they get a chance to taste it. Huh.
Mr. Charles, you're talking about exposing people to music. There's a piano about 10 feet or so to your right.
Well, I appreciate that, sir, but I'm telling you, I'm totally unprepared to play it. As a matter of fact, I just finished working last night, and I got to work today. And I don't want you to do me like that. I'm playing. I've long since forgotten how to play by myself, except when I'm practicing. So you want me to play? So you don't want me to play the C scale, right? And you want me to play something that you know, and I can't do that. I mean, I have to be honest. I'll never lie to the audience, and I think that's a key to my success. I always tell the truth. I don't, right now, I cannot actually sit down and play you something that you could enjoy by myself, because I ain't in that kind of mood, and I didn't figure I came here for that. So you don't want to hear me play the C scale like I'm practicing, and that's what I do when I'm practicing. I just play little things, and that ain't what you want. Now, you want me to play something special, and since I can't do that, I would prefer to ask you to please give me a rain check this time, and the next time I come over, and you tell me you want me to do that, and then I'll prepare myself for it. Is that fair enough?
Fair enough.
Right
Thank
you.
Ray, a lot of musicians have been expanding into other media. I'll never forget your performance on Saturday Night Live years back. What do you feel like also about making the Blues Brother movies and other stuff like that?
You said, what did I heard something about Saturday Night, and I didn't quite get the last part of that.
Oh, about your appearance on Saturday Night Live and other films. In other words, expanding into other different mediums.
Oh, I rather enjoyed the Saturday Night Live thing and the Blues Brothers, and I did another film called Light Out of, it was Ballad in Blue, it wound up being another. I enjoyed doing the films, the television stuff, especially Saturday Night Live in particular, because I felt that the producer of that show had a lot of guts, because you figure that here's a guy that's going to say, let's ask Ray Charles to do this show, Saturday Night Live, and it's really live in those days. It was definitely live. And you know, you look at it and you say it was a marvelous thought because, you know, I had no cue cards, you know. I mean, everything on that show, you know, everything on that show I had to remember, period. So for 90 minutes, and I'm thinking what all I could forget, and yet here's a guy that has enough nerve and enough of, I guess just feeling to say, but you can do it if you want to. Well, I think that's why I had so much, why I feel so good about Saturday Night Live, because I was very, very open. And all I could think of is that now you got 20 million people watching this, man. What if you forget? What do you do? So I asked a couple of guys on the show, I said, what do we do if I forget some of this stuff? And the guy said, well, natural. Well, that took the pressure off me. You know, it really did. It allowed me to say, okay, now I know that if anything goes wrong, maybe I'll just say, you know, tell a little story or something. But thank God, nothing went wrong, and I remembered my lines quite well. But I really enjoyed that Saturday night thing. I guess because it was so challenging. Everything had to be now, and you had to be, you know, you really had to remember what you were doing. So I enjoyed that. Although I enjoyed the Blues Brothers and the other things, but at least that was film, and if you didn't do it right the first time, you could redo it, you see.
Right. What do you consider to be the one moment in your career that you'll never forget?
Ooh, now that's heavy. I mean, that's really, that is such a strong question. It would take me time to think about that because I've had so many things to happen to me that was so wonderful. I mean, so beautiful. Until I can't just, off the top of my head, just grab one thing and say, look, this was the most, this was the, I really can't. I don't know of one thing I could just pick out and say it stands out. Because I've been a very blessed man, my friend, I can tell you, very blessed in that I've had a lot of good things to happen to me. I mean a lot of good things. I know that some people realize that I've had a few bad things happen to me too, but on the other hand, the things that have happened to me that were good have been wonderful. Boy, coming up, you know, walking around barefooted in the South, you know, with patches, you got little patches all over them and stuff. And yet down and talk with 3 presidents of the world when you stop to think about it. You know, you cough and the world sneezes. There's a little truth to that, you know. And here I am, I come in the presence of the presidents, 3 of the could have happened to me. But yet on the other hand, I can tell you one little quick story. Tina, who was not a lifelong friend, but this man... And when we got to the elevator, he said, now well, in Argentina, the elevator, he had a key, and he opened this elevator door. Story short, we went downstairs, and we took the man to the hospital. When he came to, the first thing he asked was I all right? To me, that here's a man that before he asks about himself, he wants to know, was I all right? You see what I mean? How can you say what is greater?
Mr. Charles. Mr. Charles, all afternoon or for the last few minutes you talked about the need to mix different kinds of music so that people are exposed to a wide range of music so that they can learn best what they like. And certainly you played a major role in bringing to audiences that would not otherwise have been exposed to black music, rhythm and blues, or whatever you were singing at the time, diverse musics. And so you have spent your life serving for you as a black performer through various stages as a musician in this country, as you tried to give so much little things that a small mind like mine could comprehend, words of wisdom that you could give some of the same forces?
I think what is always important in whatever the endeavor is you got to, first of all, try to build up a confidence and faith in yourself. You know, you often hear about the athlete who he says, well, he's got to get confidence in his pitch. He's got to get confidence in his running, or he must have That's truth in this. You know, you must, first of all, believe in what you're doing. So if you have talent, and how do you know if you got talent? Well, the first thing you want to do is be honest with yourself, and you be honest by listening to what's available or what's out there in the world and compare that with what you do. It's just like if you want to know if you're good looking or not, you look in a mirror and you compare that with what you're seeing. You see, it's the same thing. And when you feel that you have talent, then there's such a thing as perseverance. I mean, because, you know, we often read about somebody who plays the piano or plays the guitar or sings a song and he's a star. But remember that for every person that comes up and becomes a star, there are 10,000 people who tried it and didn't. So what we have to do is understand the percentages, and if we have the talent, then what we have to do is sort of not take when you practice a little harder. You know, you go, I heard somebody first, they tell me that the first time he went there, he was turned down. They didn't accept him. But he went back and he practiced a little harder. Now I understand he's one of the best guards in the league. This is what you have to do in your music or in your profession or whatever you're doing. You must, first of all, build up confidence in yourself by training yourself to become as good as you possibly can at the moment. In other words, you practice hard, you study. I keep saying that because I want you to know there ain't no shortcuts, none. You know what I mean? So I'd say my advice is that if you think you got talent, then work on it. Work hard on it. You know, make yourself the best whatever that there is, or at least that's what you try to do. You know, I know that I am not going to be Art Tatum, but that don't stop me from trying to be my best. I can do the best I can do. And this is what I feel that is important in our lives, is to give all we can with the time that we've got, and I think it works.
Ray, I'm curious, what is that special element in your music that's caused all cultures and races to enjoy it?
I think it's the sincerity. When I perform, I don't play. Somebody asked me, say, well, now listen, you know you're going to play for a French audience. What are you going to do? I said, the same thing I did when I played for the English, for the Italians, for the Japanese. You know, this is the good thing. I think that the sincerity in your music, people can feel that. Now, that's not to say that you can't fake people out, but you can only do it for a while. And I've been doing this professionally for over 38 years. And I don't think you can last in this business that long by jiving your way. You know, I think you got to have some sincerity in what you do. And if there's anything, I believe that the people know one thing. When they come out to see a Ray Charles show or hear a Ray Charles show, they know that he's going to give them something that they will feel better when they leave than they felt when they came. And this is what's important, is to make the people really get involved in your music so that they actually, it's like a good movie. It's the same thing. Exactly. You make people become involved in what you are doing. And how do you do that? You do that with sincerity. How does a Humphrey Bogart make a girl, Betty Davis? How are they doing it? This is the way I studied. I found the way these people were doing it, they were making themselves believable. And how do you make yourself believable? You got to be sincere in what you do.
Ray, my question almost relates to that. My question to you is, especially today, we see a lot of performers who feel very strongly about something, using their fame and their appeal to the public in order to express their views. I'm wondering how you feel about that, if you think that they should, if they feel strongly enough, or if you feel that they should instead concentrate on the artistic part and the raising the audience's awareness of art as opposed to perhaps politics or environment or something of that nature.
Well, sweetheart, I feel that just because I feel strongly about a political thing has absolutely nothing to do with me as an artist. You understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't feel that it affects other people. I mean, there are people who are engineers and they have feelings about politics. There are people who are school teachers who have feelings about politics. There are people who are in the newspaper business, but they have feelings about. So why can't entertainers have feelings about? You know, I must tell you very frankly, I cannot march with you. I mean, I won't do that because I don't have the temperament. I know that if somebody hit me, I'm gonna hit them back, and that ain't what you want. You want nonviolence, and I just can't take that. So I tell you what I'll do. I won't march with you, but I know you're gonna get in jail. You're going to need buses. You're going to have food. You're going to need lawyers. That costs money. I'll do concerts for you. That'll be my contribution, you see? So this is the way. Now, that's politics. That's political. But yet I do it my way. That was the way I felt. And if you notice, you didn't see, well, you know, Ray Charles was out there, man, and he did this. And you never saw that. You never, but that didn't say that I wasn't. Now, if you talk to Dr. King's people, you'll find out that Ray Charles was very active, but he just was doing it his way. That is.
Well, Mr. Charles, thank you for doing it your way today. That's all we have time for. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. All right. Hey, thank you, guys. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate it. You know I love you for that. So good. That's really nice. You want to get that coffee? Thank you very much. All right. Okay,